Well, hello. My name is Bill Simpson. It's March 15th, 2020. This is the second in a series of lectures for my Philosophy 1010 students at Metropolitan State College of Denver. So, what I propose to do today is, first of all, summarize the results from our last lecture and then discuss Meditations 3 and 5. Now, Meditations 3 and 5 both involve the idea of God, and in 5, a proof for the existence of God. And while Descartes tends to blend these two ideas together, I think we'll see that it's helpful to handle them separately. Then next time we'll talk about Meditations 4 and 6, in which Descartes applies the results of his work in Meditations 3 and 5. So let's review. Last time we saw that Descartes had an aim, and what he wanted to do was come up with a non-teleological framework for work in the natural sciences. And he was going to do this by making a fresh start by founding a system of knowledge on indubitable propositions. Now, vocabulary word, propositions. When I use the word proposition, what I mean is a statement that we can show to be true or false, at least in principle. And so, for example, I might say that the city of Golden has white fire engines, and how would I show that? I would go down to the firehouse and look at the fire trucks. So a proposition is a statement that's capable of being true or false. Descartes wants to found a system of philosophy, a system for doing the natural sciences on the basis of indubitable principles. Now, the next thing we saw was that Descartes uses doubt as a philosophical tool. The idea is, if you can subject any proposition to doubt and not exclude it, then that proposition is going to be the sort of proposition that we can use for building up the whole of the system. Now, in Descartes, what can't be doubted is that he's a thinking thing, and that he can be certain of his existence in the moment that he's having a cognitive episode. Doubting, affirming, denying, even having a sense experience. Now, the sense experiences are themselves doubtful, but the mental experience of having the sense experience is indubitable. So Descartes knows that he exists in the moment that he's having one of these corrigible mental states. Now, these are limited results. What's not proven is that there's an external world. What's not proven is that Descartes is the same being from one cognitive episode to the next. He's not shown that there are other minds. And he's not shown the existence of physical objects. So he's stuck in this view called Solipsism. Now, the solipsist says, I'm certain of my own existence, but I'm not so sure about you. So that's where we left Descartes, but we had a promise, and the promise was that we can use the idea of God to solve the problem of solipsism. So Descartes is going to give us an argument for the external world. Now here's how the argument goes. Premise 1. All my mental contents either originate within me or come from outside of me, that is, from the external world. Second, if I can identify at least one clear and distinct idea that I could not have come up with on my own, then it must have come from the outside. It must have come from the external world. Premise 3, the idea of a supremely perfect, necessarily existing infinite being, namely God, is just such an idea. It's one of those ideas that I could not have generated for myself, hence there's an external world. Now, notice at this point that Descartes is not telling us that God exists per se, regardless of what the title of chapter of Meditation 3 says, of God that he exists. What we're saying really in Meditation 3 is the idea of God shows me that there's an external world. So let's talk through the premises. Premise 1, all my mental contents either originate within me or from the outside. that proposition seems uncriticizable. There are only two options, and they either come from one place or another. We're done. Secondly, if I can identify at least one clear and distinct idea that I could not have come up with on my own, then there must be an external world. Okay, what does he mean by clear and distinct? What Descartes means by clear and distinct is something like his own existence. I am, I exist. That's clear, that's indubitable. Okay, it's a clear and distinct idea. Now, Descartes in premise 3 says the idea of a supremely perfect, necessarily existing infinite being, God, is a clear and distinct idea. We know exactly what it means, and then he says that such an idea couldn't have come from within him. Why couldn't it have come from within him? Initially, his response is rhetorical. He says, well, just yesterday, I had ample evidence of my own fallibility. I was doubting even my own existence. Okay, so at this point, the justification for premise 3 is primarily rhetorical. He's saying, oh, humble me. I'm such a fallible creature that I could not have generated the idea that God, the supremely perfect, necessarily existing being, I couldn't have generated that idea for myself. Okay, now there are a couple of fairly obvious criticisms that could be made. Let's try this one first. Suppose one said, well, wait a second, Descartes, you don't have to be omnipotent to get the idea of an omnipotent God. All you have to do is just take ordinary garden varieties of power, goodness, on, and simply ramp them up. Just exclude limit. Okay, Descartes has a fairly detailed response to this. What Descartes is going to say is, well, the human mind works in one of two ways when it's coming to new thoughts. One of the ways that the human mind can develop a new thought is through aggregation. And so what you do is you take, if I'm going to come up with the idea of, one of Descartes' examples, I think he'll say a hippogriff, and I'm not sure what a hippogriff is, but I think it involves lion characteristics and dragon characteristics. And so what I'll do is I'll take all the things that I know about lizards and combine them with the things I know about lions and combine them together in my mind, and presto, I have my hippogriff. And similarly, I can do something similar with God. But augmentation or assembly or aggregation only works with material that we already have on hand. And we don't have on hand, says Descartes, a notion of the infinitely good God or an infinity of different properties. And so Descartes says we can't do it through assembly. Well, can we do it by taking away features? But that's not going to work either, because explaining something by taking away features might work if we say, oh, darkness. I can tell you what darkness is. Darkness is what happens when you have light and you take it away, and what's left is darkness. So so that's what that is. But you can't go the other way. So you can't explain to the blind what vision is by saying that vision is like blindness minus not seeing. See, so you can't go to a positive place by the method of subtraction. And so for Descartes, we don't have a way of getting to the idea of God within our own heads.